René Descartes is famous for saying, I think, therefore I am. He was a soldier, a Christian scientist, mathematician, philosopher. When I was a young man, I think he was about 23 years old, he was stationed in Germany. He had a series of dreams. In one of the dreams, an angel spirit appeared to him, and in the dream there was a book. He wanted to show the angel a quote, a passage from the book, but there were empty pages. So from those dreams he woke up, he understood what the purpose of his life was supposed to be. Descartes was a rationalist. Those who think reason is the only way to know the world, we can't trust the senses. We have to use reason, the mind. Knowledge is a priori. So he says, one day, one time in the life of everyone, you have to take a moment to analyze, examine all your beliefs to see if there's one of them that is beyond doubt. Take a moment, take one day, take some time to analyze all your beliefs to see if you question all of them, will all of them disappear? Will there be one of them that is left behind? He thought knowledge is like building. If you're building anything, you need a strong foundation. If not, the house will collapse. Likewise, the question that he asks is, what is it I know with certainty? What is it that is true beyond doubt? If only I could discover something that is certain, something that is true beyond doubt, beyond any doubt, I could use this to be the foundation of knowledge. I could use this to discover other things. So when we analyze our beliefs, he said, well, we have three types. There are beliefs about the world, beliefs about math, and beliefs about self. So let's analyze each one of them to see if there's anything we know with absolute certainty. First, the beliefs we have about the world, we have them because of our five senses. We see, we smell, we taste, we feel, we touch, we hear things. So the world appears to us in five ways because we have five different senses. He said, well, if you analyze the beliefs that you have about the world because of these senses, can any one of them be the foundation of knowledge? Can any one of them give you absolute certainty? He thought, no. The senses, not only they lie to us, they deceive us. There's no way we can know the world through the senses. Some things are too small for us to see. And when it comes to things like taste and flavors and colors and sounds and smells, we can't agree on those things. So if I'm looking for certainty, the information given to the five senses, that information can give me any certainty about what the world itself is. Not only that, he thought um, we can't really know we're not dreaming. Your senses can't tell you whether or not you're dreaming. Again, most of us have those dreams in which you see a dog, a monster, something chasing you, and it looks real. You wake up breathing heavily. It looks real. Now, after you wake up from the dream, your mind will tell you, oh, this was just a dream. But again, notice your senses can't tell. Dreams, hallucinations, reality, to your five senses, they look exactly the same. So if we cannot tell whether or not we're dreaming, again, we cannot trust the senses because dreams, hallucinations, reality, visions, they appear exactly to the five senses. So his dream argument was that we can never be certain we're not dreaming. How do you know you're not dreaming? You're watching this lecture on YouTube, You could go to bed tonight, you dream exactly of the same thing. Of course, some dreams look insane and crazy. You could be in the classroom right now, the next thing you know, you find yourself on the moon. You don't know how you got there, but many dreams look so real. They look like, they feel like the um, real world. Again, when you wake up from the dream, your mind will say, oh, this was a dream. But your five senses can't tell the difference between dreams, hallucinations, and reality. So because of that, then he thought we can't really acquire certainty, knowledge through the five senses. Notice, if you can trust your five senses, notice this means you cannot trust the world. I know the world exists because I can see the world. I can touch and smell and feel and hear the world. If I say, well, okay, I can't trust my five senses, this means I don't know if the world is real. I don't know if you're real. I don't know if the blue sky is real. This means anything in front of me, I don't know if they're real because, again, the world is given to me through my five senses. Descartes is just sitting in a room thinking about this, trying to determine whether or not there's something he knows with absolute certainty. In other words, he's doing a thought experiment. He's not saying doubt your five senses in real life. He's saying, okay, what is it I know, I know with absolute certainty? And he said, well, whatever is given to the five senses, I can't really trust these because, again, the senses can't tell the difference between dreams, hallucinations, and what reality is. So once you say that, you find yourself in a strange position called solipsism. Solipsism means, okay, I exist, I know that, I'm real, I know that, because I know my thoughts. I can experience me, my feelings, my sensations, my memories, my ideas. But you, well, I don't know. You could be a dream, the blue sky could be a dream, a vision, and hallucination. So the only thing I can know so far is that I'm real. Now, after he rejects the five senses, he said the senses can't be the foundation of knowledge. The senses can't give us certainty. He turns to math. He said, well, 2 plus 3 is 5. Whether or not I'm dreaming, having a vision, hallucinations, 2 plus 3 is 5. A triangle has 3 sides. A square has 4 sides. It doesn't really matter if I'm dreaming or not. It seems math can give us certainty. Could mathematical propositions, descriptions be the foundation of the world? Can I truly doubt 2 plus 3 is 5? He paused for a while and said, well, okay, how do I know for certain 2 plus 3 is 5? When I was a young man, I was told God is real, God exists, God made the world, and God is omnipotent. God is all powerful. God can do anything. If God can do anything, could God make 2 plus 3 be something else? If God is truly omnipotent, truly all powerful, could God make 2 plus 3 equal something else? He said, well, God wouldn't lie to us. God wouldn't deceive us because they also tell us God is good, God is perfect, God is loving. It's logically possible the world was made by something else. Let's call it an evil genius. Let's call it an anti-God. It's logically possible, again, it's not a contradiction. There could be something that has the power, the knowledge of God, but this thing is not good. Let's call it an evil genius or an anti-God, the opposite of God. There could be something that has the power, the knowledge of God, but except this thing is not good. What if the world was made by an evil genius? What if the world was made by an anti-God? He makes me to believe 2 plus 2 is 5. And you go to a different planet, different galaxy, he makes those creatures there to believe 2 plus 3 is something else. Is this logically possible? Again, he's sitting in a room, he's thinking about this. Is it logically possible 2 plus 3 may not be 5? I'm just programmed to believe it. And this evil genius, this anti-God, makes other creatures, life forms, to believe 2 plus 3 is something else. Is it logically possible? He said, well, yes. Then if it's logically possible, there could be an anti-God. Again, it's got the power, the knowledge of God, but is not good. Then I can't really trust math because 2 plus 3 could be something else. Therefore, even mathematical propositions, even math can't be the foundation of knowledge because I can doubt 2 plus 3 is 5. Again, he's not truly doubting this. He's simply saying it's not a contradiction, it's logically possible. Now, this is very interesting because some would say, you see, God can't be evil. If something has the power and the knowledge of God, see, there's no reason for this thing to be bad, to be evil. Again, if something has the power and the knowledge of God, again, he can do anything he wants. The world is already his. Then, see, there's no reason for this creature, well, for this thing, for this being to be bad and evil. But let's agree with him for now. It's logically possible there could be an evil genius and anti-God. He made us to believe mathematical propositions. But if you go to a different planet, different galaxy, those people believe different mathematical propositions because they were made that way. Therefore, I'm not really trusting mathematical claims. Therefore, math can't be the foundation of knowledge. Then he said, well, okay, even if I cannot trust my five senses, even if I cannot trust mathematical propositions, it seems there's something I know for certain. Maybe my senses, my dreams, my visions, my hallucinations, maybe my thoughts, my ideas, my memories, my feelings, my sensations, maybe everything about me is mistaken. I'm completely confused, completely deceived. But if there's doubt in me, there must be a doubter, something doing the doubting. If there's thinking, there must be something having the thoughts. The same way, if there are clouds in the sky, well, there must be a sky. Likewise, if there are thoughts, there must be something doing the thinking. This thing I cannot doubt. He concluded by saying the only thing that is beyond doubt, indubitable, is the fact that I exist. That's why he says, I think, therefore I am. Je pense, donc je suis. Again, maybe I can't trust my senses, my feelings, my ideas, my memories, my sensations, my feelings. Maybe I can't trust anything, but I know that I exist. Why? Again, if there's thinking, there must be a thinker. If there's doubting, there must be a doubter. But not only that, if I say the blue sky doesn't exist, that's not a contradiction. If I say that's not a contradiction. But notice if I say I don't exist, that's a contradiction. Because for me to say I don't exist, I must exist in the first place to say that. So therefore, by saying I don't exist, you see, I prove that I exist. I don't know what I am. I could be mistaken about my beliefs, about myself, the world, mathematics. But one thing I know for certain is that I exist. Je pense donc je suis, I think, therefore I am. Again, at this moment, he's still in skepticism. He's still in solipsism because if it's true, okay, the only thing I know for real is that I exist. What about other people? You see, they could be dreams, visions, hallucinations, creation of my own imagination. What about the world? Same thing. The world could be a dream, a vision, and a hallucination, a creation of my own mind. So solipsism, again, strangely, this idea led him to that. The belief is that I exist. That's the only thing I know for certain. Anything else is subject to doubt. I can deny them without engaging in a contradiction. But I can't deny my own existence. To deny my own existence, to say I don't exist, is to prove that I exist. So Descartes then is a skeptic, because again, the only thing he knows for certain is that he exists. Now, the way he tried to get out of this is to try to prove God exists. He gave a long argument to prove God exists. That if God exists, then God is loving. This means I can trust God. Therefore, if I see the blue sky and clouds and people and butterflies and trees, if I see things in front of me, he said God is not a deceiver. God wouldn't make me in a way I see things in front of me, but those things are not truly there. So strangely, for Descartes, it's easier to show the existence of God than the existence of the world, than the existence of this book. Because the world, the book, can be a vision, an hallucination. I could be high, I could be creating this in my mind. So the only way I can trust the existence of the world is by, first of all, trusting God first. And if God is real, God made the world, therefore I can trust my five senses. Okay. So to summarize that, Descartes is asking, what is it I know with absolute certainty? Is there anything that is beyond that? He said, well, anything given to us by the five senses, we can't trust this. It can't give us absolute certainty. Why? Because the senses can't distinguish dreams from reality. How do you know you're not dreaming right now? Could math give us certainty? He said, no, math can't give us certainty, because what if the world was made by an evil genius and unto God, something with the power, the knowledge of God, but not good? He made us to believe those things, but they're not true. So the only thing we can know for certain, each person, is that you exist. Anything else outside of you, again, is subject to doubt. Okay. So Descartes, he's a foundationalist. He believes, again, knowledge is like building a building. You need a strong foundation first. So the foundation is certainty, is the thing you know beyond doubt, that is your own existence. And then anything else can be doubted. Anything else has to be based on this foundation. Okay. Foundationalism, there are some beliefs you can't justify them because they're bedrocks, foundational basis of everything else. And in this case, the belief that is the foundation of everything else is the fact that I exist. After Descartes, um, there's a man called Immanuel Kant that came along. What he tried to do was to combine empiricism and rationalism. Empiricism says when we are born, the mind is blank. There's nothing, there's no knowledge. Is when the senses begin to interact with the world, that's when we know things. It also says the mind is passive. The mind doesn't do anything. The mind simply receives information from the world. Rationalism says, well, again, reason is the way to know, but it goes further and say, actually, human beings are born with knowledge. Plato thought we are born with all knowledge, we forget it. Descartes thought, well, we are born with knowledge of self and knowledge of God. What Kant did is, again, he tried to mix them, combine them. He said, well, it's true, knowledge begins with sensory experience. We need the world to know things. The world gives us the raw data, input, sense information. Even though knowledge begins with sense experience, the structure of knowledge is given by the mind. Yes, data, information, input, sensory information is coming from the outside world. If not, we wouldn't know anything. But the mind is not passive. The mind is actively shaping, organizing, ordering, structure, whatever information, whatever raw sense experience that is given to us by the whole. So you can think of the mind as a projector. The whole is like a screen. The mind reveals the whole. The mind shines a light onto the screen. Before Kant, many people thought knowledge means the mind conforms to the world. There's the world exists separately outside the mind is passive. When you know something, it's because your mind comes to conform with the world. What Kant did, he switches that. He says, well, actually, the mind doesn't conform with the world. It's the world that conforms to the mind. Why? He thought the way nature itself is, it's unorganized, it's chaotic. It's not something that you can understand. Nature itself is chaotic. There's no beauty, no order, no structure in that. So when you experience something, your mind filters the information given to the mind by the senses. The information that is coming from the world, again, the mind imposes an order, a filter, in organization on this information. So this is why you can't experience chaos. It's impossible because your mind constitutes, your mind builds, your mind structures, orders, organizes, filters the world itself. So you're not born with knowledge, innate ideas, but also your mind is not blank. He thought the human mind comes with certain structures like time, like space, like causality. Those things are not truly in the world. See, this guy goes way further. He actually says time is part of the human mind. The human mind comes with space and time itself. This is why you can feel things. This is why you can have an experience. One argument that he gives for that was that he thought you can imagine the absence of things, the absence of objects, but you can't imagine the absence of space. In other words, space is already a background. Space is already in the back of your mind. That's why it's impossible, he thought, to think of the absence of space. Again, any object in space, like a tree, like a chair, table, person, you can imagine them not existing. You can imagine their absence, but you can't imagine the absence of space itself. So one way to see this, say again, you go by the beach, you put on some blue sunglasses, the world looks blue because of the sunglasses. If you put red, yellow sunglasses, the world will look red or yellow too. The sunglasses, they filter, they change the world. It's saying exactly the same thing. Your mind filters, um, orders, organizes, structures the information that is coming from the world. This is why you can experience things. When you see a flower, for example, you see one thing. You don't see the color over here, the shape over there, the matter somewhere else. You see one thing. So some information is given from the world, but it is the mind that actively structures that. This is why if you look at this picture, You could see that's two things. Is this picture a duck or is it a rabbit? Notice it's up to you. You can see it as a rabbit or you could see it as a duck. Notice if you come from a society you never see a duck, it's going to be impossible for your mind to see this as a duck. Again, your mind can choose to see this picture as, again, whatever the mind wants to see. Again, just to show you, this is actually true. The mind is not something passive. The mind shapes, structures things. Let's just show you one more picture. Look at this picture right here. For some of you, you see nothing. That's just a bunch of black dots. But if you look closely, you will see there's an animal there. Just give you a few seconds. In case you don't see it, let me show you. There's a giraffe in there, in this picture. Let's go back. Maybe you can see the giraffe now. Notice the giraffe is not truly there. It's a bunch of dots. Your mind organizes it, structures it, constitutes the giraffe itself. So Kant is saying the world is like this. It's unorganized, not structured. It's chaotic. So whatever you perceive has been changed, constituted, formed, organized, built, constructed by your own mind. In other words, we experience only what our minds can, only what our minds allow us to experience. We experience only what the mind can structure. Notice again, let's say if you come from a society, you never see a giraffe, never. Even if I tell you there's a giraffe in this picture, you're not gonna be able to see it. Again, we experience only what our concepts allow us to see, and that we never see the world objectively. In other words, again, there are certain things like time, like space, causation. The mind comes with those structures, and the mind uses the structures to organize the information that is coming from the world. Because of that, though, he concluded the way the world is in itself, phenomena. The way the world is in itself, noumena, we can't know this. If you remove consciousness, experience, subjectivity, we can't know what the world is in itself. The world we know, phenomena, is the world that has been shaped, changed, built, structured, ordered, organized, constituted by our own mind. Knowledge is limited to this experience. We can only know what we experience, and what we experience is filtered through the mind. In other words, again, skepticism. We do not know, cannot know what the world is like in itself. Because to know something means your mind changes it, your mind orders it, structures it. It's impossible to know the world the way the world is itself. Again, it's like your mind has these sunglasses and it's impossible to remove them. Now, one objection against Kant, notice again, he says time and space, those things are structures of the mind. forms of intuition. The reason why we can sense and feel things is because of time and space, but time and space, again, they're part of the background of our minds. Space is interesting because nowadays we know space actually is part of things. It's not simply that the planet is in space, the trees, the birds, and the flowers there in space. Space is actually inside of them. An atom is actually mostly space. The distance between the nucleus and electrons is actually vast. So atoms are mostly space, and objects are made of atoms. This means objects are mostly space too. But you see, if inside the atom there's space, then how can you say, well, this space is also only inside my mind? What if it's both? What if space is part of the mind, but also space is truly part of the world too? Or what if space is only part of the world? Because again, atoms are mostly space. It's hard to make an argument that this space between the electrons and nucleus of an atoms, somehow this space is a creation of the human mind. And if you say space is part of the mind, is it only true for us people? Does that mean the mind of the butterfly and mosquitoes, their minds also come with space? And what does that mean? Also, scientifically now, we know now space is actually a thing. Space is like a rubber band. You can move it, you can bend it, you can stretch it. This is why the Earth goes around the sun, because the sun is so big, massive, the sun bends space. And we know space can be moved. If you take two galaxies in space, the space between them can move. This is why now we know the universe is getting bigger, because the space between the galaxies it's getting bigger. So if the space between galaxies far, far away is getting bigger, larger, so how can space is only part of my mind? I think what Kant got right is the fact that the human mind is not a passive thing. Again, one more time, you could see this picture as a duck or as a rabbit. It's up to you. Or this one, you could see that's just a bunch of dots and dots and dots. And your mind can see some structure or can create some structure and see a picture where there's no picture. So whether or not space and time are part of the human mind, that's objectionable, that's questionable. But the part that says the mind is not a passive recipient of sense data, the mind actively, directly organizes, filters things, changes things. Um, this part of it is actually true. Okay, so to summarize Kant, rationalism says reason is the only way to know. Human beings are born with ideas, knowledge. Kant says, well, that's too far-fetched. It's hard to make the case that a newborn baby knows things. Empiricism says, well, at, at birth, the mind is blank. It's like a blank piece of paper. And the mind is passive. The mind simply receives information from the world. And to know things is when the mind conforms to the world. So can't change that and say, well, it's true, sense data, we can't know unless there's sense data. Content, raw sense experience comes from the world, But the mind is not something passive. The mind actively forms, structures, organizes, filters, constitutes, shapes the world. The world is there, the world is real. The world is like a screen, the mind is a processor, the mind is a projector. Because of that, we know things when the world conforms to the mind. It's not the mind that conforms to the world, it's the world that conforms to our mind. The way the world is in itself, it's unorganized. You can't understand it. It's not structured. You can't experience um, any chaos. But the mind actively engages, the mind imposes order, structure in the world itself. The way the world is in itself, we call it noumena. We move experience, we move consciousness, we move mind, we move subjectivity. We can't know this. So the only thing we can know is the world that has been built, shaped, structured, organized, is constituted by our own our own minds. So Kant again tried to bridge both, but in the end, you still end up with skepticism. There's a part of existence we cannot know. For Kant, questions of God, does God exist, would fall here. Phenomena. Do we have free will? Morality, is there an afterlife? All those questions would fall here, but again, we can't know the world the way the world is in itself.